This encounter happened this past year, and it was something that completely shocked me, all through ordering food for delivery. It really showed me that anything can happen, even in what you would think is a standard, normal situation. It was a Friday night, and the weather was as usual where I live, raining. I decided to order food, as I hadn't eaten all evening, as I was busy, and at that point, I couldn't be bothered to cook or go out to collect. My order went through at 11 p.m. I ordered a greasy Chinese. Junk food, I know, but I was craving it. Around a quarter hour after I'd ordered, the app pinged, arriving. I got my money ready and waited for the door. The Ring camera caught the person before I saw them in person. It was a woman delivering. She stood at the bottom of my steps under the street lamp, still as a photo, her head turned slowly, scanning the property. Hedges, side path, even the upstairs windows. Strange, I thought. The fact that she studied the place instead of just delivering the food. Finally, she came up, hood down, wet hair clinging to her face. Her eyes reflected the camera's LEDs like two dim moons as she rang the doorbell. I opened the door, said hello and thanked her for delivering. She handed over the bag without even looking at me. I gave her a few extra bills as a tip, and said that was for her and I didn't need change. She unfolded the note slowly, then looked up. That's not good enough. I stared for a moment, taken aback. I laughed, caught off guard. It's reasonable, I remember saying. You should be grateful someone delivers to you at this hour, she said. Surprised by the conversation and her hostile attitude, I told her I was grateful. She stared at me a beat too long, then turned and walked away without saying another word. Scratching my head at the nerve of her, I'd barely locked the door when the door hammered with a set of knocks. She was back, face filling the camera, breath fogging the lens. You didn't tip enough. Give me more, she demanded. Not quite believing it, I told her a firm no, that she should be grateful for what I'd tipped her already. You'll regret that, she said in a cold, emotionless tone. Then she proceeded to spit on the camera, a wet smear across the lens, then walked off. I couldn't believe it. I remember my emotion went from shock to anger the more I thought about it. The fact she spat on my camera. I filed a complaint in the app, left the porch light on, and tried to ignore the knot in my stomach. After that, I'd somehow managed to enjoy my food still, all while thinking about it. After an hour had passed, I began to forget about it the more I relaxed. But I was soon reminded of it. By 2:17, I was half asleep on the couch when a hard smash jolted me up. My kitchen windows shattered, cold air pulsing through. The Ring app screamed motion alerts. The playback showed the porch, empty, then a hooded figure darting into view. Small build, long coat, hood up. They paused at the side gate, glanced up at the house, then swung a blunt object at the kitchen window. Glass shattered, they ran, head down, stride long. It could have been anyone, but the way they moved, it felt like her. I called 911. 2 officers arrived, took notes, and watched the footage. The hood hid her face, and they said that without a positive ID, they couldn't prove it. I gave them her name from the app. They said they'd check nearby cameras. After they left, I cleaned the broken glass and covered my window with cardboard until I could get something done the next morning. I cleaned the dried spit off the Ring lens, but it left a faint, iridescent residue that I couldn't scrub away. Over the next week, the delivery company emailed their corporate apology. Driver deactivated pending review. A neighbor said she'd seen someone pacing late that night, but nothing ultimately came of it. The glass got replaced, the insurance check cleared, but the uncomfortable feeling stayed. 2 weeks later, at 3:49 a.m., a crack echoed, rattling my window. I jumped out of bed, looking through the blinds. I had a crack spread right through my window like a spider's web. The street was empty. I checked the Ring doorbell on the chance of seeing anything, and my stomach dropped when I saw it. It showed a small hooded figure standing at the end of my drive staring up at the house. It stood there for a good 2 minutes. The build and coat looked exactly like her from that night of the delivery. I was sure of it. Again, another expensive repair, and the same thing told to me that without proof nothing could really be done. It hasn't happened again since, but I don't know if she'll come back. I remember her breath fogging the glass, the smile that didn't touch her eyes, and the way she said, like it was a fact, not a threat, "You will regret that." I always collect when I order now. It still amazes me how a simple thing like getting a delivery turned out the way that it did. This happened last year, when I decided to pick up a second job for some extra money. I had my main job, and I got a flexible food delivery job for a well-known company. Something that worked around my schedule, where I could clock in and out and pick up work when I needed, all through the app. The job itself was easy, picking up orders and dropping them off. I did most of my work on the nights after my day job. I needed the extra cash to pay off some bills, and in all fairness, it was coming in handy. Working the times I did, it was quiet on the roads. Obviously, certain nights would be dead, but when it came to Fridays and weekends, with the majority of people being off work, having late nights and enjoying their weekends, orders picked up. I had checked in and had been on accepting orders all evening from around 9 p.m. Most of my jobs being local, so easy, and a few of the tips had been good. I was looking to finish up and head home for the night as it was nearing midnight. Just before I made that call, another order came up, and without thinking twice, I accepted it. Thinking that would be my last job for the night, I headed to pick up the food. As I collected the pizzas, I scouted to the delivery address and time of arrival to destination. It was a good 20 minutes away, which was probably the furthest I drove all night. Collecting the food, I set out and made my way to the destination. It was a good 20 minutes away, which was probably the furthest I drove all night. Collecting the food, I set out and made my way to the destination. Halfway towards the destination, I ended up taking a turn down a long country road. As I drove down it, I could see that the place was in a real rural area. The lack of light down the road led me to having my full beam on, so that I could see the road ahead. Once I had reached the end of the road, there was another turning that I was led down that seemed to be the road that my destination was on. The houses that were scattered along the road were few and far between. But as I slowly passed, looking for the correct one, all the houses down the road looked run down, old and worn, and, in all honesty, looked abandoned. I finally reached pretty much the last house at the end of the road, and as I pulled up, I again thought the same thing. It looked abandoned. All the lights were off. The front of the house looked worn, and the overgrown weeds consumed the driveway. The only thing that looked normal was the Navy pickup truck on the drive. Looking at my screen, this was the right destination, so grabbing the pizzas from the passenger's seat, I got out my car and looked around. It was like a ghost town. Not just because of the time it was, but the fact that all the other houses scattered down the road looked the same. Deserted. Making my way up the path, I climbed the steps as they creaked, sounding like they would give way at any moment. Reaching the front door, I knocked 3 times, waiting for a good minute, but there was nothing. I couldn't hear anything. No light came on and nobody answered the door. I knocked again, a little louder this time, just in case I wasn't heard. It was a big house. Looking around, I then noticed a rusted metal intercom to the left of the porch area. Pressing the button, it buzzed, breaking the silence and making me jump. Again, giving it like a minute, but there was nothing. Clearly, this house was empty, so I began to make my way back to the car. Scratching my head, thinking to myself, this is where I was led. Was I at the wrong place? Because I must have been. As I was about to reach for my car door, I turned around, looking back at the house, when I saw it. As I looked back, my attention was caught by a flashing light coming from the second floor window. It was like a flashlight signaling on and off to get my attention. What the hell, I thought. It surprised me in the moment that someone was actually there. Walking back up the steps to the door, it was then I could hear it. The intercom was on, and emitting from it was the eerie sound of someone breathing. They didn't speak, just breathed. I spoke into it, saying I had the pizza order here. There was a long pause of just breathing down the intercom, before a voice finally spoke, saying, "Oh, the pizza. Brilliant. The front door's open. Could you bring it in and place it on the side for us, please?" Surprised by the request, and not wanting to step inside someone's house, let alone a house as run down as that one, I politely declined, and said I wouldn't take the food inside as I wasn't comfortable with that. If they could answer the door, or I could leave it on the porch. Again, there was an awkward silence. By this point, I was feeling weirded out, so I decided to put the pizza on the doorstep. As I said, the delivery was there, and for them to have a good night. As soon as I said that, the voice spoke up. "No, please, I can't walk. It would take me an age to get down there. If you could please just drop it inside. There's an extra $20 on the workshop for your trouble." As the person pretty much begged and offered me a tip on top of that, I reluctantly agreed. The voice told me to drop them in the kitchen, the first room to the right as you walked in. Picking up the boxes, I opened the front door, it creaking, causing my face to wince as I stepped in. There was no light apart from the moonlight coming through the stained windows, and as I tried the light switch, it didn't seem to work. Quickly turning to the right and walking into the kitchen, I placed the pizzas on the side, looking for the 20 tip, but there was no money. I heard a creak to the left of me, and as I looked up, I froze. At the back of the room, there was a dark silhouette standing in the corner. As my eyes adjusted, I was taken aback and disturbed by what I saw. In the corner, there stood a naked man wearing a bushy wig, and what looked to be makeup smeared on his face, standing, staring at me as he grinned from ear to ear. His haunting smile sent a shiver down my spine. Thinking, what the actual fuck, I backed up and turned to walk back to the front door. As I did, I looked at the man who was still smiling, but now approaching me with what looked to be a needle in his hand. I ran for the door as I shouted to stay the fuck away from me. As I reached the door, I heard the sound of footsteps heading down the stairs, and to my horror, as I looked back, there was another man, half naked, coming down the stairs, wide-eyed as he told me to get back inside. I threw myself out the door and sprinted to my car. As I jumped inside, I looked back up at the house, the front door open, and one of the images I'll never be able to get out of my head. As I looked back, I could see, just the man's head hanging out the door frame, as he glared, smiling at me. The silhouette of the other man appeared in the doorway. I've never drove out of somewhere so fast in my life. I managed to get myself back down that dark road, and back to somewhere with street light and normality. I honestly don't know what the hell I had walked into, but clearly those men were on something. And although I don't know if the needle was for me, I assume it was, and that they had ill intentions. I reported the order online, but nothing was ever followed up. I stopped my delivery job for a while after that night. I picked it back up after a few months, but after that encounter, I never let myself be talked into entering someone's house. Even today, I can still picture vividly the disturbing smile on that man's face, something I think I will always remember. Thank you for joining us and watching this chilling video. We hope you enjoyed this topic and you found the fear within. What other subjects would you like to hear soon? Let us know in the comments what creeps you out. If you're new here, say hello, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Become a part of the Horror Motives world. See you soon with another terrifying video.